Council of the County of Brant now in session. Attendance.
I haven't received any regrets, so I'm expecting people.
Approval of the agenda. You have an agenda printed. Moved by Councillor Cardy, second by Councillor Pierce. Any additions? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest by any member of council. Convene as committee of the whole. Motion, please. Thank you, Councillor Coleman, second by Councillor Balma. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We are now in committee of the whole, and the first item is review of 2017 grants request. I think we're really dealing with. Oh, that's last year's. How did I get?
That's just.
How did I get last year's? Well, we'll have to start over again. I've been using the wrong year. Review of 2018 grants requests. Updated summary sheet and additional, our overview of 2018 proposed budget processes. We've changed the processes, have we? Where did I get that 2017? Are you going to proceed?
I'm going to proceed through you, Mr. Mayor. I have a very quick presentation tonight, just to give you a brief update on where we're at and some of the information that you've requested. So tonight, you've seen this chart at the last meeting, or the first meeting that we had, and today we're at December 6th, which is the grants and decision packages. It's not very likely that we'll get to decision packages tonight, but if by chance we have enough time, we can begin those. So again, this is just a reminder that based on a property assessed at $300,000, the way the current budget sits now, it's a 0.56% increase, or a $14.01 increase to a household. So we'll just go over some of the follow-up questions you had from the previous meetings. The first thing here is we handed out some new sheets tonight on the capital budget. This is just outlining what those changes are. All that we've done is move some money from Sill App's interior painting to the BSC scoreboard replacement. It's just shifting the money. There's no impact to the levy on top of what budget's already been presented. So if I can speak to the scoreboard replacement, I have a little bit of information on that. Apparently, there's a problem with the controller being able to control the scoreboard, and the company that makes them is no longer in business. So there's two of them there, and actually both need to be replaced, but we're just looking at doing one next year.
Questions? Councillor Gatwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The company that went out of business, that no longer does these scoreboards, did they reincorporate under a new name, or what is the name of the company?
I will have to call on Ms. Ballantyne to answer that question. I don't know the name of the company.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it was Hamilton Digital Design that was the company that supplied them back when we built the Brant Sports Complex. However, they have gone out of business entirely into a different line of business, and there are no other suppliers that can do any modifications to that controller unit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what did we do? Tender the painting to get a reduced price, or why is there such a drop in the painting?
I think it was just the funds were reprioritized. It was more important to spend the money on the scoreboard this year than the painting.
Councillor Cardy.
Thank you, Your Worship. Robin, have they done any research on possibly getting a corporate donor or sponsor to possibly provide a new scoreboard?
Again, I'll have to call on them to answer that. No, the answer is no, they have not.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay, one of the things that was asked for was a breakdown of the community relations and the recreational facilities in terms of revenues and expenditures. So you can see under the community relations that the revenues have increased 40%, or 264,000,
Want it to change.
which is mainly driven by the fees, the increase in fees. And the expenditures have increased 33%, and those are including the Scotland Community Centre and minimum wage increases. And under recreational facilities, the revenue's gone up 3.1%, which is an increase in the fees. And the expenditures have gone up 6.4%, which is essentially utilities.
Councillor Simons.
Through you to Robin, can you tell me what the extra expenditures for the Scotland Community Hall was to increase that amount?
Prior to this year, we didn't really have any expenditures. There was no staffing there, there was no programs being run there.
So it's all new and that's why it's increased to the budget?
That's
Okay,
correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
So I provide a little bit of information on interest rates, because as we look at our debt policy or debt management plan, part of the consideration in issuing debt is what we're paying in interest rates for loans versus our investments. So this slide demonstrates the interest rates that we pay for all of our debt, and it's broken down by each issue. You can see the bottom two. The bottom two are the debt that was just issued in the last month, one of them being over 10 years, one being over 20 years, which aligns with the life of the asset. So you can see back in the top few rows that interest rates were a lot higher then, and they have come down.
Interesting.
So interest rates on investments. So we basically have two kinds of investments. We have the Brant Legacy Fund, which was the hydro sale revenue. We have that invested with LAS, and the current balance is $33.5 million. The return since inception, which was just in 2014, was $2,053,000. The annualized rate of return since inception, which is also 2014, was 2.23%, and the year-to-date rate of return is at 0.86. So that's for 10 months. The other investments we have is with RBC Wealth Management, and those are various trusts that we have are kept there. The balance at November 30th is just over $3 million. The total return since inception is $2.7 million, and that's because there used to be a lot more money in there. At one point, there was over $10 million in there. And the reason for that is historically, when we used to get grant money, it used to go in there until we used it. And then a big chunk, I believe, was used to pay off some debt. So the year-to-date return at November 30th is 1.61%. So just giving you a little bit of breakdown of the different kinds of grants we get. So federal grants, there's only one, and it can only be used for capital, and it's the federal gas tax. And you can see the 5 different projects that that's dedicated to, totaling the $3.2 million. The provincial grants for capital, again, there's only one, it's the OCIF funding for the Martin Culvert. And then we also get provincial grants for operating, and there's a whole variety of them there, totaling $7.5 million.
Fire call superintendent.
So that brings us full circle back to the total budget slide. So you can see we are still at where we were last time. with a total levy impact of 1.4 million or 2.9%. And that's it.
Any questions? Councillor Gatward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the 2.9 that was shown up there, doesn't include the proposed grants that we might approve or not approve this evening?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it includes $148,000 worth of grants. So that's your starting point. That's what was you allocated out last year. So from that, if you approve more than 148,000, yes, it'll increase the above the 2.9.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, I thought you'd kicked the wire.
I actually had to change the wiring down there so it's feeding from the other computer, so.
Any questions? Ongoing provided by Director of Facilities.
So this format that's up here now is very similar to what we've used in the past year. It has the grants as they've been requested on the left side. As they're approved, it will show up in the blue column, and then it will all total and roll up into the purple box. As you see it now, the dollar increase to the median home shows a negative number. So basically, if you don't approve any and remove the 148, the budget will go down $7.49. But as we approve the budget, that'll increase. And then if you go over 148,250, you'll show how much is actually you're increasing the taxes on that median home. Okay. So.
Anyone? Councillor Baum.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to move that we approve items number 7 through 12. Seeking a seconder.
Moved by Councillor Baum, second by Councillor Wheat. Items 7 through 12, I believe. Is that correct? Questions or comments about that? Councillor Pierce first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, and I'm for this, but just a clarification question. When these were put on to the ongoing agreement that on the yearly budget and stuff like that, was there ever an end date put on that, or is that just forever and ever?
My understanding is most of these are pre-existing before amalgamation, so they're just to be continued. I don't know that there's an end date.
So with the possibility of getting something thrown at me, is there something is this something that we need to discuss about potentially putting an end date on these?
It can't go on forever. I don't think that's reasonable, and there was an agreement. Do you have the terms of the agreement?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's my understanding so there are some agreements for some of these. There aren't. In these cases, and Kathy can certainly provide more information, but these are situations where we rely on community groups to operate facilities that are available to the community. Scotland Optimist Park is a good example. It's a local piece of parkland. I believe it is owned by the Scotland Optimists, but it's available to the community. So these...
No, it's not. It's not owned by them.
Okay.
But it's not owned by them, but it is operated by them for us through agreement.
Yeah.
Well...
It's always been my understanding that the Scotland Optimists...
Maybe it was transferred.
Yeah, own that property at this point. Okay. And they operate it, they maintain it, they cut the grass, they look after the equipment on it. And we provide a subsidy to them to do that. Because the other option is we would be providing that same activity at our cost. So this is actually quite consistent with our Parks and Recreation Master Plan, which talked about, there's the three options. We've got don't do something, have a community group do it for us, or do it ourselves. And this is a really good example of the mechanics of that agreement coming into play, where we've got community groups who are prepared to oversee and look after these community assets. Rather than us doing it, they take ownership for them, and we provide them with some funding to do that. So.
Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not to belabor the point, because I think we've got other points we're going to be belaboring later on. But
but we need to understand it.
No, I understand. But I was talking to Kathy last year, and I'm just wondering, can the county do it a little more, I'll say, efficient? And I'll use the Scotland Optimist Club as an example. I know a lot of their members are, like everybody else, they're getting older, and I don't know, is that something that, is that discussion taking place where maybe they would like to pass off the maintenance of that? Or do we plan on having that discussion this year in 2018?
Well, I think the way to do that, if you wish to review the contract, and I'm not against that, because by reviewing it, you'll know exactly who does what and why and at what cost. But you could review it at some time during the year, or the committee could, the community services, review it and say, this is the detail about it. For this, we get this. Do we wish to continue that, or do we want to look to the future and make a change or some changes? There's nothing wrong. In fact, it's good to review what you're doing.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So at some time, we can review the contracts. Hopefully, well, staff may say, well, we'll do it all at once and take the time to do it, all of them, or we could do one per meeting or something like that. Yes. Councillor Baum.
If I could, through you, Your Worship, to Michael, when do you think you might be able to give a cost benefit or an audit for value of those? Michael, when could you have a report back for, say, CDC on those, so that we'd have the information for next year's budget or for new council's budget?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we could certainly do that over the course of the coming 6 months or so. If you want it quicker, we could probably do a down and dirty analysis. I think conceptually, I don't mind putting myself forward and saying, I personally feel this is pretty good value. I think I have a good example of what the cost of these facilities would be for us to take on. I think we're getting very good value from the community groups, and so we wouldn't be recommending it if we didn't think it was good value.
Thank you.
We could go back and do a little more of a detailed analysis, come back with an estimate on what it would take for us to take on that work if council committee was so inclined to do that.
Exactly. Councillor Pierce. I'm sorry, Councillor Simons.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Michael. It is correct then that the Scotland Optimists own that park? Is that correct? Okay. So if they own it, in fact, are they able to sell it?
Mr. Chair, through you, I don't know the answer to that question. We could investigate that if that was desired.
Well, that's a very important part of it, I would think, because that land is very valuable, I would think. So I just wonder if it's in a contract somewhere that they are not allowed to sell it.
You're saying you want the contract reviewed?
I'd like to know if it is in a contract or somewhere in writing that they're not allowed to sell it, or is it open-ended that they can sell it?
We'll get you that answer.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Pierce.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. And I'm sure it is, and I believe what you're saying there, Michael, about these are all, good, it would cost us more to do it ourselves, and I appreciate that. And as I say, I'm not opposed to any of these, but I think it'd be prudent that if people did ask us, because this is all public knowledge, that we have some sort of understanding as to the whys and the hows and the how longs and stuff like that, and potentially, if somebody else is able to get in that list, you know what I mean? So, and again, 6 months is fine, and we can just kind of tread through it. So thank you. I think it'd be good to have that.
The one problem with the Optimus in in Scotland is that they're paying education tax on it, not real estate tax, but education tax, because it's a private field, and we've never been able to do. If the county were to take ownership of the property and pay the Optimus Club to run it, it would be tax-free. But because of the way we do it and their ownership, there is education paid on that, and that's a chunk. And isn't it rather foolish that we have a park we're paying education tax on when we don't need to? Anyway, I'll leave that. There's going to be a review. I will certainly speak to it at the time, but we can't make these changes for 2018. We've got to get these things moved on and provide for it, but we can review it in 2018 if it's a wish, or a new council. Councillor Gatwood, please.
Thank you, Mayor Eddy, and I learned some new information this afternoon, actually, about the Scotland Optimus and where some of the facilities are located in that park are actually on the land we bought from the diocese. So if they're cutting the grass for us, maybe that's a trade-off, because we're giving them a free room to use at the Scotland Community Centre.
In other words, they're paying for the room.
Yeah, I would be happy to review with the general manager, because I do know the history of that property, and
that'd be part of the review.
I have some suggestions. Thank you.
Anyone else? No. Thank you. Okay. Where are we now? We have a motion on the table. Speaking to the motion, anyone? None? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Your worship, if I could.
Yes, sir.
If I could ask for a resolution to do that, review, that would help us at the staff level to track the work.
To place it in the agenda for a period. You're moving it? Second. Discussion? Any needed? And it's simply a review of the partnerships that we have for community services. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. So we're ready to fly on.
Yep.
Councillor Baumann.
I'll go to 1,500 for 17. Same as last year.
So what are you saying?
Adelaide Hunter Hoodless Homes grant request to give them $1,500, sir.
Oh, here, so I can tick the 1,500, same as last year. So it's an individual motion. You've heard it. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Next request is from the Air Paris Band.
We passed by the first Paris Scouts. Are you going to? Pardon? You're going to be dealing with that? Or so what are you going to deal with next? Yes, okay.
You're doing what I was doing, going by this, and I think...
What's the matter?
Well, it's still in your books.
No, I know, but it's not...
Oh, I see your point. I'm using this.
That's what I was doing.
Well, I'll try to get on the same page with council. Yes, far better. That's right. And it's nice large print too. Yes, okay, who's next? Who wants to speak next?
Well, air repairs band, last year was 2,000, this year they're out asking for 15, so I'll move to 15.
So, which item are you moving?
Air Paris band.
Air Paris band, thank you.
Last year we gave them 2,000.
Yes, sir.
Request this year is for 1,500, so
Right.
I'm moving the 1,500.
500, thank you. Seconder, did we have a seconder for that? Councillor Cardy? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Yes, next, who's next?
The next is Blue Rain Foundation, Every Soul Matters. They did have a request in last year, but nothing was awarded. It's to offer a subsidy fee for the youth participating in the Every Soul Matters program at Amani Acres. So they're requesting 5,000.
Councillor Simons?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may ask a question, do they make profit from this venture?
I don't know that.
I had a hard time reading it too. Did you read into it, if I may ask?
They're not
Go
for
ahead.
profit.
Motion to deny.
Move to deny.
Second.
Councillor Simons, seconds.
Yes.
Discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Well, I don't know what they...
Thank you.
The next is Brant Egg Awareness Committee, Vita Brant. They received $1,000 the last 2 years, and they're requesting another $1,000 for 2018.
Was Councillor Bauma first?
Yes. Actually, Councilor Coleman was first, but I spoke first, sir. Spoke loudly.
You're putting me in an awkward position to choose between councillors.
I got 2 men in. 2 men in.
Okay, you got it. 1,000?
1,000.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Next is the Brant County Barnstormers Square Dancers. This is their first request to secure a space to rent that has heat, air conditioning, and washrooms, help cover cost of audio equipment.
I'll move the request and speak to it if I get a seconder.
We have a second, Councillor Cardy.
Simple reason that I like this one is it seems to be for the kids. They're trying to move it to, I think that's South Humphreys Community Center, and they're $1,000 which cover off the rent. So they're teaching kids, and this is just to pay for the rent. I think the rent for the year is $1,080 if I'm not mistaken, and so this will cover off the rent. So I think that's appropriate.
At what time we practiced in Kitchen School, but it burned down, or was burned down. So you're getting $1,000 there?
Yeah.
All in favor? Or any speakers first to it? Councillor Miller?
And I missed Councillor Boomer. Where did they practice? You said at the community center?
Right now, they're using someone's barn or drive shed or something like that for grant request, and they want to move it so that they have...
Well, it's getting a little chilly.
Into the South Humphreys Community Center, if I'm not mistaken, so... the
Good
rental
cost.
facility for their
Season is $1,080, and this will just cover off the 1,000, and then they're asking their membership to come up with the other 600, I think, to meet their budget.
Councillor Pierce?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So for this particular one, and I'm in support of this, now they're moving to the St. George Community Center. So in essence, we're going to be giving them money to pay us back.
Yes.
So
They have to pay their way.
okay, I'm trying to understand what, so where are we going to see that coming back in, right?
It's
So
a
really
money.
it's just a wash.
It's a money roundabout.
It's just a wash, got it.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
So the next request is the Brant Waterways Foundation for $2,640 to develop a package of projects for which it will market, promote, and fundraise, also requesting the in-kind rental of sillaps for their one-day forum.
And they, in the past, have always held fundraisers to raise their funds. Moved by Councillor Wheat. Pardon?
We may have to up the bid to 2,700.
Who moved it, please? Who seconded it?
Coleman.
Coleman. Discussion.
I like the
Anyone?
2640.
All in favor?
That's weird.
If I might, Mr. Mayor,
Pardon?
does the $2,640 include the in-kind rental at Slabs?
No, it does not.
It does not? So the value of that is?
I'm not.
Oh, they're also requesting in
Yes.
kind. That's the point you were making.
Because-
$100.
And this is a new one, as it is.
Just $100?
That's, yeah.
Members of council,
Yes.
you have a request. Second part. Do you wish to deal with that?
Just a second, it's just a one-time deal, right?
Yep.
Waterways does good
Yeah,
job.
mover and seconder.
Yes. It's a one-time job? This is-
Discussion? Councillor Bauma?
If I may, sitting on the board,
Oh, thank you.
for a long time,
Yes, well.
I suppose, yeah,
some
but I
of
get
us
no
were
direct benefit
longer.
out of it, so I'm okay
Some
with that.
of us were longer.
Conflict of interest.
The Trail Improvement and River Access Program hopes to complement what the county's doing, the city's doing, and Six Nation hopes to do in order to make everything contiguous. So what we're trying to do is get a good set of projects together with municipal support so that we can be the fundraiser in order to make these things actually happen, so that the tax burden for building these things actually goes down. Simple as that. So what this event is ordered in order to put the wheels to that thing. So the grant request is just to have it here, have 80 people in, and actually vision what the TIRA program will actually look like throughout the region. Thank you.
What is the rental of sillaps for?
Just to use the facility.
A fundraising function?
For that day-long session for the 80 people to come out and do this visioning session for what the program will be.
This is breaking new ground, I believe. We have a mover and seconder on it? All in favor? New ground. So that's two notes. Okay, next is Burford Agriculture Society.
Yeah. Last year, past 2 years, they were awarded $2,500. This year, they were awarded, in 2018, they've requested $5,000. Add more security in the form of fencing and lighting because of damage to the property and theft of tools and small equipment.
Councillor Pierce.
I'll move the same as the last 2 years, 2,500.
Second.
Moved in second. Discussion? Anyone? Councillor Miller?
I was going to try another number, 4,000. And that would be the same that we've awarded them last year. Obviously, if anybody's read the paper, they'll know what happened there. But it's unfortunate because the loss of the tools has cost them some money as well. So if we vote this down, I'll go with 4,000.
Isn't it odd, why isn't the request, oh, it's for 5,000, and we'll take that. Okay, all in favor? Did we vote on that? No. Opposed, carried, okay. Next. What are we?
It was carried, there's.
Pardon?
18 in favor.
25.
Opposed?
Okay.
Carried.
Canadian Military Heritage Museum of Brant, they've requested $8,700 to overhaul of the museum, make board library meetings room accessible. Community services staff have commented, request that groups consult with the Community of Brant Accessibility Coordinator.
And it's a new grant.
It's a new request.
Thank you. Councillor, Councillor Simons?
Yes, through you to Heather, where is this located?
Brantford.
It's in Brantford on Greenwich Street? Yeah, Greenwich Street.
Have you not been to?
No, I didn't even know it existed. Sorry.
We'll get you an invitation.
Sorry.
We'll get you an invitation.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. You'll get an engraved invitation.
I don't get out very much, folks.
Can someone give her a tourism guide?
Any question? A question about it?
It's really upsetting about being
We've got to
honest.
move on or we're going to be here all night. Is there a motion about this item, please?
I'll make a motion to give him $1,000.
1,000 is the motion?
Yes.
Is there a seconder for the $1,000?
I'll do that, because I don't know where it is, so
Anyone?
I'll second it.
You're seconding? Thank you. Discussion, $1,000 to the Military Museum. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can't support $1,000. I was going to put the motion on for $2,500 because $1,000 really doesn't do an awful lot for accessibility. It's a worthwhile project.
Yes.
It is a great organization. And
Yes. I agree with you.
Yeah, they should.
I will withdraw my motion.
Thank you.
I'll move it 2,500.
2,500. Is there?
Brian points out the accessibility, and they're going to work with our accessibility coordinator.
But there's grants for that.
So I kind of like it. So.
There's grants.
Councillor Cardy seconds the 2,500 figure.
Just a second. I withdraw my motion. Councillor Pierce might want to make that. Let it be $1,000 first.
Well, as a seconder of the original motion, and I understand
Yes.
where Councillor Coleman's going here with the accessibility and stuff, but there's also grants they can get for accessibility.
Yes, there is. What?
So
I believe the budget for this project is about $60,000. So I think the county knows what
all right, I'll withdraw the second and go with the 25 and see what happens.
Thank you. I don't know that it's really necessary because if a mover removes, there isn't a motion actually, but that purifies it. Thank you.
Purifies
And
it.
Councillor Powell.
I've never purified anything before. That's excellent.
Well, the system, the motion, Councillor Powell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. This past year, we've had some very important military anniversaries like Vimy Ridge. Even the explosion in Halifax is today. And I think more people have become aware of our military history.
Yes.
This is something we really should be pushing forward to get our young people, any age group engaged, because we have a very historical military campaigns and history, and we want to hang on to that for the next generation. And it's carried on to Afghanistan. We're going to have we have a peacekeeping now in Latvia, so I think it's part of who we are and what we do.
Thank you. Councillor Galvin.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, on page 11-52, they have a budget there, and they were short $8,652, so I believe that's why they asked the county for $8,700. And the city is also working with them on this project and giving them...
Are you speaking to the motion?
Yes.
You must speak to the motion.
Yes.
We have a motion for $2,500.
Yes,
Which is up from what it originally.
And I'm explaining why, Mr. Mayor, they asked for $8,700. And
Yes,
there's a letter from the city condoning this project, and that I believe they were giving them $45,000. So I was prepared to give them more than $2,500.
Thank you, but the motion reads $2,500. Anyone else wish to speak? No one? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Where would you like to go now?
Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum, the air show. Last year, county granted them 5,000, they're requesting 10,000 today.
Councillor Miller?
If you look on the next page there, we used to award, well, at one time we did award $7,500 to the Rotary Air Show back in 2016. So I'll move 7,500 for this as well.
Rotary 2016 awarded, no requests. That one's out. Rotary Charity Air Show was 7,500. That's what you're drawing attention to.
Well, I mean,
So
these guys took it over from the Rotary, and
it was Rotary. They're still there.
Yeah, and we used to give the Rotary 7,500. So I think I'm moving that we provide the same to the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum.
Councillor Coleman seconds, and the amount is 7,500. Speakers? Anyone? None? Councillor Bauman?
I know it was brought up last year, and I always struggle with this one a little bit because really it just ends up being a donation to whatever they give the proceeds to. So I guess, what is it normally, the kids? But whatever. You know, they seem to do quite well, and it's a good thing to support. So I can vote in favor of that. But it does seem kind of interesting that...
Are you speaking for the motion or against?
I'm ambivalent towards the motion. I just find it interesting that it's not really a donation to the air show. It's a donation to whatever the air show is donating to.
All in favor, 7,500. Opposed? Carried.
Crossing All Bridges Learning Center. So last year they were awarded 7,000. They've requested 5,000 this year.
I'll move 5,000. Second.
Moved by Councillor Wheat, second by Councillor 5. What amount?
5,000.
The amount that's there, 5,000. Speakers? None. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Go ahead.
Next is Girl Guides of Canada First St. George Pathfinders. They're requesting 3,000. Support a Girl Guides trip to Pax Lodge and Netherwood House in Scotland and UK.
Anyone?
Second.
Moved and seconded. The amount that appears here. Is that correct? Speakers? Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't see it on here, but did we not also support their trip overseas last year?
No, 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Last year we gave the Scouts.
Okay, so even if it was 2 years ago, it's not on here either.
It was 2 years ago. And then they came back after and presented us with...
Oh, it was fantastic, and don't get me wrong here. I'm just trying to understand. I thought we supported them before, but I don't see it.
Well, they don't have to criticize better than others for not putting it in.
Councillor Simons.
Mr. Mayor, is there some way that we can suggest to these groups that they get a grant once every 3 years, once every 5 years? Because there seem to be more people going on these trips.
Yes, sir.
And
there could be some
there could be
years and others.
several people going on these trips. And if they all come to the table at once, well, I don't know where it's going to go. That's the only thing.
Well, that comes into a policy review.
It's a
That's
policy
part of a
review.
Policy review. It can be done at any time, but it has to be motion. Councillor Bauman.
I think we can deal with that if and when it happens as a grants committee. But when I see the investment, the relatively small investment that we're making in the future of these women in our community, because a lot of them stick around and become community leaders, I think it's a very small price to pay for the benefits that we're going to be seeing 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the road. So this is a very small investment.
Councillor Miller. Councillor Miller, please.
Well, I guess the amount's in the eye of the beholder, but to me it's a big chunk of change to contribute to help people travel. Nothing against the Girl Guides, because when they were here, I was impressed with all the community work that they did. But I'm not a believer in using property taxes to support trips, so I'm going to vote against it.
I don't. Are you for or against the resolution? I don't know. But that maybe it doesn't matter. Anyone else wish to speak? None? All in favor? Oh, did you want to speak, Councillor?
Well, I was just going to say, Mr. Mayor, I understand Councillor Miller's point.
And what's the point?
A lot of times, people can't afford to go on trips because they have a tax bill to pay and other expenses.
Well,
and yet we're taking their very tax dollars and giving it to programs and trips. And it is an investment in the future of these young women. However, I think that they should be self-sustaining.
Are you for or against the resolution? I'm not getting the message.
I really would support half of that.
That means you're against the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next.
Glen Morris Horticultural Society is requesting $500 to help purchase flowers and plants.
Motion, please. Councillor Bowman. Thank you. Seconder. Was there a seconder? Thank you. Okay. Discussion. Any speakers? Bowman.
If anyone's out there during the summer, you can see the amazing work that's been done there. The trailhead in Glen Morris is actually beautiful with all the plants and everything that we do there. So again, that's one of the
Paradise. Paradise.
significantly beautify the trailhead.
Anyone else? None? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Next is the Grand River Council on Aging. Last year they were awarded $10,000. They're requesting $16,500.
I'm moving 0.
Second.
Councillor Pierce, you wish to speak?
I
Or
was
were you
go-
going to make a motion?
I was going to suggest the same as the last 2 years, but there is a motion on the floor, so we'll
Yes,
wait to see
that's
what
right.
happens with that.
Well, you can vote against it.
Oh, I shall.
Yes. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Miller.
The group itself has been extremely active in.
Would you speak into the mic? I am having some trouble catching your enunciation.
You could sit here. The group itself, they've done a lot of work. They've put out a lot of studies. They've been very, very active in the community.
Active? Yes.
Very active. They're led by Lucy Marco, and they've done a lot of work. I sit on a few committees, and she's there, and she's presenting. And the same issues that face us as we age, mobility and such, also face the people who have accessibility issues. You on, Dad? I'm just saying that they've done a tremendous amount of work, and they've put out a lot of studies. They're available for everybody to see, and I'd like to see their work continue. So if the zero's voted down, I will support 10,000.
It's also up the request considerably.
Yes, and if the zero's voted down, I will support 10,000.
Okay, there's a motion, 0. Councillor Weed?
Well, yes, I'm saying 0 because, yeah, they're doing all these studies, but I don't see the results of any of these studies. I haven't seen one thing come down that I'm a senior and have been for a couple years.
Thank you for the response. Anyone else? We're going to vote. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is lost. There's open for a motion. Councillor Councillor Pierce, I think you were the first.
I'll move 10,000.
Thank you, 10,000. Carty, seconds. Discussion. Anyone wish to? Councillor Gatward.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I believe it was either earlier this year or last year, they had a series of workshops in the county, the Grand River Council on Aging. However, out in our area, it wasn't very well publicized. In fact, I didn't even know about it. And so it was canceled. And the workshop didn't even take place. So I would hope
Councillor Gatward, are you for or against the resolution? That's what we're speaking to.
Yes, well, that's what I'm speaking to right now, is I would hope, if I support this $10,000, that they will try better to advertise their programs and workshops throughout the county and get the word out, so we get value for our $10,000.
You get the expositor, do you?
Pardon?
Do you get the expositor?
Yes, I do.
Oh, thank you. Okay. I know that's out of order. Everyone clear on the motion? All in favor?
10,000.
You counting us? Opposed?
Motion's carried.
Next, please. Next, oh, where are these new ones coming from?
Next request is from the Grand Valley Educational Society. They're requesting 5,000.
Thank you. Anyone? Grand Valley Education Council? 2,500, you're saying? Thank you. Is there a seconder for Councillor Coleman's motion of 2,500? Anyone? 1, 2, 3, out. Sorry, Councillor Gatward.
Well, Mr. Mayor, this is a very worthy cause, however,
Yes, they're all.
they should be asking the Board of Education.
Can we have a motion first, please?
Are you moving anything? Anyone else?
Motion to deny. We get another support.
Deny?
Yeah, second.
Second to deny. Speakers? Any speakers? Councillor Powell.
This organization, they're the people who brought Wilfrid Laurier into Brantford.
Not quite. No, that
Close
was
to it.
not quite really. They certainly helped after they knew it was coming, but I don't know that they were. It was the city that brought them, but they certainly were a great help in getting them situated.
And to some extent,
Because I was there, that's why I was a member of the.
and to some extent, the Conestoga, they worked on trying to keep Mohawk here. And these are the kind of institutions that our young people need to train to improve our society and our area. So, and it is a separate from the Grand Erie School Board. These people are at the community college level. And so
You're speaking against the motion then?
yes, I would give them the amount that's up there.
Yes, that's not the motion. Councillor Coleman.
I'm speaking against the motion too, Mr. Mayor. This is an organization that is trying to get a new college with the airport.
Yes,
And it's
that's correct.
vital to help
That's correct.
continuing education and whatnot, so I'm not going to support the motion that's on the floor.
I see. Councillor Bauma.
I just want to get the conversation going. I'm more than happy to withdraw my motion for 0 and
You are?
yes, to deny.
Do we have a seconder who is willing to withdraw? Thank you. Councillor Coleman.
2,500.
How much?
2,500.
2,500 bucks. That's bucks. Okay, is there a seconder for Councillor Coleman's motion, 2,500?
Yeah, right here.
Thank you. So, discussion, speakers, Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I am in support of the 2,500, but I must say I'm a little disappointed here with their presentation. You know, they give the balance sheet and all that kind of stuff, but if you look at the operating expenses for 17-18, okay, they've got PT office support at 22,000, so it works out to 36 and a half days a year at $25 an hour, but it doesn't say what they do. And I was a little disappointed that in all of this, which is the 22,000 of 28,000 of their expenses, and they don't have any detail at all as to what they do. So again, I am in support of this, but it would be nice, we're always saying that they have to have the information in here. Well, they give the history of it and they kind of give a little bit of a balance sheet, but nothing for the bulk of their expenses. So again, I'm in support of the 25, but little disappointed in their report.
Thank you. Any other speaker? None? All in favor? You got to count? You got to split vote here. Opposed? Oh, I thought it was stronger than it. Carried. Go ahead.
The next is from Hawkins Gignac Foundation for CO Education. They're requesting 10,000.
Thank you. Any speaker? Councillor Simons.
Mr. Mayor, could I have someone explain the explanation of this purchase additional CO alarms to donate to fire departments, reprint activity booklet, and support COB Fire Safe at Home Seniors Program with alarms.
Firefighters are active.
Are they getting a donation from this council to donate fire CO alarms to our fire departments? Or these are other ones out of the county?
Carbon monoxide.
Are they out of the county or are they in the county?
But our firefighters do check on those as well. Yep. Any speakers? Councillors?
Well, I'm going to seek assistance here, and I wish I should have given.
I don't understand.
Who's on the fire department. I think we have 3 fire inspectors.
Yes, sir.
3 full-time
Who?
inspectors. Plus, I'm familiar with St. George, and
Yes.
almost Picture Paris is the same, and Scotland is the same. They go out and do a lot of this stuff on their own on Monday nights. They do a lot of this. I know the St. George guys do, and I'll bet you 50 cents, and so does Paris, and so does Scotland. I'm a little bit familiar with those 2 departments.
Thank you.
These guys are, some of our guys are already doing this.
May we have a motion? Motion, please. Anyone a motion? We got to deal with Councillor Gatward. What are you saying?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I agree
with... We
with...
have a motion.
Yes, I do. And before I make it, I just want to say, while they do good work, it's a duplication of what our fire department does. We do, as Councillor Weed has said, have 3 fire prevention officers for 37,000 people. And the recommended level, I believe, is 1 per 15,000. So we have a good grip on fire safety in our community. And when they came and presented to this body, they did give some smoke alarms to the fire department, or carbon monoxide detectors.
We all recall that.
And I sort of feel like it says to donate to fire departments, but our own fire departments...
Are you going to make a motion, Councillor Gatward? Please, I'm waiting for you.
Yes.
Your job now is to give us a motion.
Yes, I'll move that we only give them $1,000.
1,000 is your recommendation. Is there a seconder for that? No seconder? Councillor Bauma, seconder. Motion on 1,000. Speakers? Anyone? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Motion lost. Is there a motion on this matter? Speakers? Councillor Bauma. I'll move on to somebody who's ready. But maybe I'll come back because nobody else is ready.
Well,
thank you.
I'll move that we don't give them, we give them 0.
Refused. Councillor Cardy, seconds. Discussion. Anyone? Councillor Miller.
I thought when this foundation started, it was the best thing going because it wasn't law in Ontario that we have CO detectors. But it's law now that we do. And I know the company I work for, we hand out literally hundreds a month to low-income people. So there's a lot of programs
going. Are you in
going.
favor or against the resolution? Favor? What's the motion?
To deny.
Deny. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next.
The next request is from Kids Can Fly for $10,000.
Councillor Pierce.
I think this is a fabulous idea here, but I'll go half, I'll go 5.
Oh. Is there a seconder for Councillor? Yes. Do you wish to speak, Councillor Gatward?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is to give books to kids. We have 5 excellent libraries in the county, and people can take their children to our county libraries. They pay their taxes, and we have wonderful children's sections in our libraries. And so while it's nice to get a free book in the mail every month, I can't support this.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? If not, we have a motion. All in favor? Opposed? Did you get a count? I think it's
The motion is
lost.
defeated by
Yes.
Carter.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else wish to bring forward a motion, please? Councillor Pierce?
2,500.
2,500. Is there a seconder for Councillor Pierce's motion? Councillor Howe. Discussion on the motion. Anyone wish to speak? Councillor Miller.
We do give to these guys indirectly through the air show, just so you know.
Anyone else? 2,500 is the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We're over the page already, and it's only 7 o'clock. Can't believe it.
Next request is from the Kiwanis Club of Paris Brant, for Springtime in Paris. They're requesting $6,000, the same as last year.
I'll move 3,000.
Councillor Bauman moves 3,000. Is there a seconder for that motion? No seconder. We're open to a motion. Councillor Simons. 2,500. Seconder, please. Seconder?
And then if I can speak to it, Your Worship, looking at the balance sheet or the budget, it's a wash. So I think if we get the 2,500, that should be enough to get through it. So.
Any other speakers? None? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next.
The next one is from Noisemaker Presents. They're requesting $17,841 to help develop Paris Drinks Fest, a one-day event that will attract 1,000 people. Now, there is a finance comment here. We have also, the county, sorry, has partnered with Noisemaker to submit a Celebrate Ontario grant application. So.
Anyone prepared to make a motion on this matter? Councillor Coleman.
Move to deny.
I didn't catch the amount.
Deny. 0.
Oh, 0.
I'll second it.
You're seconded. Discussion. Sorry about that. She jumped in and I was...
Sorry, you can second it.
Would you withdraw?
Yes.
Councillor Cardy, please. Second? Second, please. Do you wish to second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, discussion. We have a motion to deny. Discussion. Anyone? None? All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Carried. Motion is carried, yes, which is nothing. Paris Ag Society.
I'll make a motion. I'll move 3,000.
3,000. Is there a seconder, Councillor Simons? Pardon?
I make a motion.
She seconds.
I said I would speak to it. So
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
Did you wish to speak to it?
I do, but
Councillor,
I was going to call him John.
Normally we get the Ag Society 2,500.
yes, sir.
I wasn't here tonight at Community Services. I was away when you supported that Meals on Wheels program. So I'll put in an extra 500. That is a tremendous kitchen up there. I've worked in it numerous times.
That's right.
That's another 12,500 to improve that kitchen.
Yes.
It's the best in the county's rent right now. So another $500.
Councillor Simons.
If I may speak to this motion, this is not for the kitchen that's existing. This is for the old kitchen that was taken out. That's the kitchen that they are going to be using. So they have to do a few upgrades, and the staff felt this was a better way of using the funds to make this kitchen appropriate for them, because there is a back door to it, we know. And but I'm just... Have they ever, if I may ask staff, have they presented a cost of what it would cost to do that kitchen as of yet?
No, we're not discussing that. We're discussing a
Well,
grant to the Paris Agriculture Society.
I understand that, Mr. Mayor.
We're not discussing a grant to a kitchen thereof. So I would like you to speak to the motion.
But that's the grant notes.
Unless you want to introduce another motion.
Mr. Mayor, that's part of the grant notes, though, that I was asking about. It's a part of the upgrades of the kitchen. That's what
But
this,
that's not what we're discussing, the upgrade of the kitchen. We were at a previous meeting, we probably will be again, but at this time, we're discussing the annual grant to the Paris Ag Society.
So
And I'm bound by that.
so if I may, Mr. Mayor, if we deny this grant, that means our kitchen...
Not denying it, there's a motion, I thought, a motion moved and seconded, that it be 3,000. 3,000, more than they're asking. More than they're asking.
No, they're asking 15,000, Mr. Mayor. And Councillor Weed is suggesting motion
They're asking
15,000.
They're asking 15,000, sure. I'm looking at the year before. My mistake. Councillor Bauman.
So we don't get any questions
I just have a problem with the financials because they, their revenues nowhere indicate the $2,500 that they got from us last year. So their financials cannot be accurate. So I have problems, while I know they do good work, giving money to someone who doesn't even acknowledge the fact that we gave them $2,500 last year.
Did they get it?
And it's not recorded?
There is.
Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through if I could. In their notes, they do make note of that they're appreciative of the 2,500, but good catch there, Councillor.
Was it under gate admissions or?
Well, that's the trouble with some statements, and I have some trouble with our own financial statements because you can't find what you want to find
It's buried.
on occasion. But nobody else seems to, so we're fine. Councillor? Thank you.
Go to the fair, main building, there's a wall of donors.
Yes.
County of Brant is always listed as a donor, so that's where you get recognition of $2,500. We're a donor. Chart Custom, Eric, Royal Bank, they're all listed. County of Brant system.
Councillor.
Page 11-172, the second from the top, municipal grants, 2,500.
Thank you. It's there.
But 179, 11-179, the revenues, it's not there.
Did you want to have a conversation about that? Because we need to get off this list if we're going to...
I've got a motion on the floor and I happen to give
Thank you. We
Can I-
haven't, yes, Councillor Gatward.
$3,000.
Yes, did you-
I just wanted to clarify, the actual request was for 10,000. The amount showing is 15,000 because of the community services meeting regarding the, what was it? The Meals on Wheels program. That was their recommendation to add the 5,000 to this request to deal with the Meals on Wheels portion.
Councillor Gatward?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, and I wanted to speak to that, and perhaps...
What are you speaking to?
To the extra 5,000 that was added for
We
the...
have a motion on the floor. We must speak to the motion. I do not make the rules. I am required to follow the rules. I'm sorry. The motion is $3,000.
Rather than 15,000.
Pardon?
Rather than the 15,000 that's listed.
The
Yes.
motion is, that's on the floor for
Yes.
discussion, is a grant of $3,000, I thought.
That's right. And Mr. Mayor, I'm speaking about perhaps why we need to give more. And
vote against the 3,000.
no, I want to explain.
Please proceed. I'm trying to expedite.
The health unit has
Yes.
told the Meals on Wheels people, which is a very valuable service in our community, that they cannot operate as they have been. They have to have the food that's frozen on the location where they're going to cook it. They can't keep it in their freezers.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, what does that have to do with
It
what's...
has nothing to do with it. I've tried to point it out, but Councillor Gatford does not want to follow the rules that I have to follow. Now,
That's
if you
fine.
want to change the rules, let's discuss that, how we would change them. I don't know how, because I'm a creature of, shall we say, habit in some regards, and I have to follow the rules. I would say what could come forward is a separate grant for the kitchen. If you feel strongly about it, test the council for the separate after this is done. So we have a grant of $3,000. Speaking to the resolution, any member of council. If not, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next.
Paris Curling Club, a request for $25,000.
Move to deny.
A motion to deny. Discussion. Anyone wants to discuss that item? Councillor.
If that carries, I was going to be prepared to deny the 25. I'll make a separate motion.
Oh, all right. Thank you. Councillor Cardy.
Thank you, Your Worship. As a past member of the curling club from years ago, my understanding is that the building is owned by the Agricultural Society, and the curling club pays a $1 fee every year to operate the building.
Correct.
Why would they be coming for the grant money instead of the Agricultural Society? They don't own the building. That's where I have the problem.
It's because of what they're expecting to do up there in the project. That is why they need they need funds. I think it's very simple. I guess I shouldn't be explaining why somebody needs money. It's up to them to say why they need it, but they need funds because of what they're going to do. Anyway, what have we got here? Councillor Wheat, please.
They need substantial amount
Yes,
of money.
they do.
They need a new floor. It's an original floor.
Correct.
Yes, the fair owns the building.
Yeah,
Curling
that's
club
right.
operates
The agreement.
And it is $1 a year.
Yes.
He's not president. And no facts.
I get you.
That floor is going to cost in excess of $200,000.
It's
It's a new floor on top of the existing floor.
Nice.
Because the pipe in the floor, if you go up there and look at the ice, you'll see there's leaks somewhere because the ice isn't frozen the same that it is followed.
It's the same situation.
So,
Mr. Mayor, if I could hear point of order, a little while ago, Councillor
Yes, I
Simons
did.
was not able
I
to
was
speak to the
thinking-
notes of the grant, and now we're
Yes.
speaking to the notes of the grant. It's written in there what it's for.
Well-
Let's move on.
I think we have what's going to happen if this goes down. Councillor Cardy, speaking to the motion.
One final comment, Your Worship. When I was a member there, if you wanted to have things fixed, they sold debentures to the membership. The membership had debentures, and they would be paid back at an interest rate. So I don't know why they can't do that now, because they're apparently a very strong club.
Oh, that is an avenue. That is an avenue, absolutely. Anyway, we have a motion for how much?
To deny.
To deny. All in favor of that? Opposed? Carried.
make a subsequent motion.
Just a moment, that was
The
carried.
motion's that the grant request for $25,000 be denied, so.
Denied, so it's open. Councillor Wheat.
I was going to make a motion to give them $5,000.
Councillor Simons.
I wanted to make another motion about another item, but this isn't off the table, so I'll wait.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? No, Councillor Coleman seconds. Motion for 5,000.
A point of order, we should reconsider our previous. We need a motion of reconsideration before we have a new motion on this one. We've already denied it.
We need to do that.
So we can't have a new motion now for 5.
Is that required?
We defeated their request for $25,000, but it doesn't stop us from giving a grant for a different amount.
Thank you.
No,
We didn't turn down
we
any
didn't.
grant.
We had a motion to deny the request for 25,000, so we have to reconsider that motion to deny the request before that I don't think we can entertain new motions until we reconsider the motion to deny. We didn't say to decrease it to 0. We said motion to deny.
The request.
I know it's a technicality.
The request.
I don't mind giving them something, but I think we should be official and then reconsider our other one first before we
The
entertain
motion
any
was not to deny any request. It was to deny the request, which cleared the floor. Now I think we could make another motion. If you agree, you agree. If you don't agree, tell me what I'm to have to do with my counsel.
It is based on whether council believes that the motion has been considerably changed. So if we believe that 5,000 is significantly different than their $25,000 ask, then we can consider this as a separate entity.
Well, the trouble
This
is
isn't
that
their
amount
request.
will mean something different to every person
If
here.
we were looking at 24,500,
it's-
then we'd need reconsideration.
Then I am content and remove my point of order. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you for the point of order. A motion to reconsider a grant to the Paris Curling Club. Are you in favor?
It's not required.
Pardon?
It's not required.
What'd you say?
Was not required.
Well, I guess we're at a standstill.
I think Heather is granting permission to make a motion for a figure of $5,000.
Well, I agree with it.
That's my understanding too.
That's what I agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I have a seconder across the street.
But if I got a problem that council members won't vote because they don't agree with that, then I've got a problem. And I can't change that. I can't change people's attitudes. Anyway, we have a motion. Any speakers to the motion? Councillor Miller, please.
At some point, because they have come before, I believe, before us, I would like to see them maybe work with our community services staff, because that might be a service that, or an activity that we could be offering to more people if we were leveraging it through the county. And I'd like to see that in the future.
Is this the only curling
You
club?
suggesting that we curl?
I guess, eh?
Yes, well, that's where we started out. We started out in the old arena.
The only one.
Resurrected the Paris Curling Club that had been dead for 70 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was fun. Councillor,
I do know this, I can give you some figures, I didn't read the report.
Oh.
But I know there's 64 seniors, people that are over 65 curl on Thursday morning afternoon. And there's, I would say close to 50 of them curl on Mondays. They do more for the seniors than the council on aging.
Thank you.
Physical activity.
Yes, it is.
Well,
Very
I
physical.
think I have the authority to put,
That really runs it as well in excess of 80, that's Bob Curley.
Bob Curley, yeah.
Councillor Hardy speaking to the motion perhaps?
Yes, Your Worship,
Maybe
and
not.
I agree with Councillor Weed. There are a lot of people that are of a senior age that use the curling club.
Yes, sir.
And it's a very good exercise for them, and I agree with it 100%. The only issue I have is they really should be going to the membership to look at debentures and then come back to council when they have a shortfall of money, but I just can't see doing that.
I can help answer that question. They've gone to the membership, you go to Sport for Ontario to make your donation, and you'll get a 95% tax receipt.
So what do we got,
Sport
5,000?
For the number 4 Ontario, and you just follow through, and simple-minded John, we even did it on the computer.
Gosh.
Councillor Gatwood, please. We've got lots of time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, if they're operating this, they should have a capital reserve fund for when they have capital projects come up, and this is one of them.
Yes.
Does anyone know if they have capital reserves? Especially if they're only paying $1 a year.
Are you trying to sweeten people?
There's a panic over there.
It doesn't appear so?
Not provided.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
You have a question to the
So we're at
treasurer. Are you able to answer the question?
No, I'm not able to answer that question.
How would you, so can you secure the
Meeny, meeny, miny, moe.
answer at some point?
We can go back and ask them.
Is that sufficient, Councillor Keller, or?
That we
do
go
you
back
demand
and-
that before the motion goes on?
That we go back and ask them if they have any capital reserves. Perhaps if Councillor Cardy was a member, he might know.
Not a member. And I can tell you, there are non-profit organizations who do not have a capital reserve.
Not in,
Thank you.
not in a nonprofit, you don't.
So where do we stand? Are we at a,
5,000.
where do we
Motion on the
stand?
floor for 5,000, I have a second. All in favor?
All in favor?
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Next.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh,
Mayor, ready?
we have an audience. We gotta be careful on this one. Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, at this point, may I make a motion regarding the Paris Agricultural Hall? Is that, you said we should make another
Only if
motion?
the council allows it. I will ask the council if they're willing to consider a resolution regarding that matter. It's out of order, but that's all right. We want to.
I didn't want to get too far down the sheet.
Do we have agreement? We have a councillor who requests consideration to put a resolution forward regarding kitchen at the Paris because, and you've already heard the background on it. So, can I have an indication of those that are in favor of that? Opposed?
Thank you, Mr.
Councillor
Mayor.
Simons, proceed, please.
I'd like to make a motion seeking a seconder that we donate $5,000 to the kitchen retrofit of the Paris Agriculture Hall in the old building.
Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll second it to get it on the table. I'd like to speak to it if I could.
Thank you.
If the mover would agree, I'd like to make a friendly amendment that we support up to $5,000 of the cost. If we can get it done for $4,
Yeah.
then it's $4.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with that. I don't know if we
So I'm
can.
not sure how that's going to go on this sheet here. I guess we'll have to.
I'll use your words, up to $5,000. A grant of up to depending on the cost of the operation. Councillor Wheat.
I give them my motion was giving them an extra $500 towards that.
Yes.
I do not
Oh,
know why in the world you would want to renovate and do another kitchen in the same, under the same roof, when you've got the kitchen that you've got. As somebody said, correct me if I'm wrong, or I
Yes.
thought I heard somebody say
It
they
can
had
be.
a freezer. There's a wonderful walk-in refrigerator freezer in the existing kitchen. So why would you build a new one under the
Mr.
same
Mayor.
roof?
I can speak to that.
I can speak to it too.
Councillor, I believe you had indicated previously.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. They're willing to buy a small freezer. The walk-in fridge is not a freezer at the new kitchen hall. I know firsthand, believe me. I put turkeys in there and believe me, it's not a freezer. They do have a long freezer, but it's not big enough for what they would like to do. It's not, okay, it's not, it probably is big enough, but not able to be used. And the kitchen was not suggested, the new kitchen was not suggested by the agricultural hall. It was the old kitchen that was suggested. So that's why I'm going at this route. The new kitchen was not
Councillor Pierce.
offered.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and if I could speak to that as well. I've been to a function in the old hall there where we needed a kitchen, and we couldn't use that kitchen because somebody was already renting out the other side. This would allow both kitchens to be used
Yeah, and that's a good idea.
in either end of it,
Simultaneously.
and also as it states there, I think in the kitchen in the old part, I would assume, other than functions, they're gonna be the only ones that are gonna be using it. There's the door right in behind there.
Yeah.
But I have been actually on 2 occasions at a function where we couldn't use a kitchen per se because of the old one that's there, because the other one was being used. So I understand that.
Yeah.
Councillor Miller.
I'd like to see us be a little more consistent, and so I won't support it. We didn't support the Burford Ag Society when they asked for a little extra money, so I won't support this one either.
I'll support 5,000, but I want to take extra 500 out of the first grade. So make this one 4,500, because you've got 500 of it now.
Councillor Simon.
Mr. Mayor, I believe, and this is maybe off topic, and you might want to call me out of order, and you're perfectly welcome to do it. But the Burford Agriculture Hall a few years ago, this county gave them $50,000 to get started, or whatever it was in the building, and that's, I think, a generous amount. These people are only asking for $5,000. So,
Councillor Simon says prepared to hear you because of I knowing your concern about the Meals on Wheels.
I am. I'm very concerned.
Program,
yes,
which is essential
absolutely,
to a number of people.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Councillor Miller.
I have to correct that statement. No money was given to, no money was given. They found a private donor who has since passed.
Okay, I take it back, and I thought staff helped me with it, but.
Yeah, I did check, but
Will you please check on that?
I can. We did give them, like, I checked our records, we did cut them a check for $50,000 now.
I thought they'd give it back to us.
Okay, that may, no?
That was a little, yeah.
Oh, it was
So-
a long.
Did they give it back?
Yes.
So the motion
didn't give it
has
back.
been, was it amended?
They didn't give it back.
As far as I know,
We'll
it
double
still
check it.
stands at 5,000.
No, it was amended. Was there a seconder for your amendment? Yes, I think there was. That it be changed to up to $5,000 was the amendment. So the amendment, all in favor of the
Just to be
amendment?
clear then, we're eliminating the 3, this is not an addition to the 3,000?
Yes, it
This is going from
It's an
changing
addition.
it to 5,000, okay.
This is in addition to 5,000, to the 3,000.
To 5,000?
This is in addition to the 3,000. The 3,000 was a previous motion. This is a new motion.
To total 8.
What
Yes.
are you saying?
Okay. No, so that's the motion on the table right now, is that $5,000
Yes.
as an additional grant, up to
Yes.
$5,000.
Yes, for the
And
kitchen.
your motion was up to $5,000.
Yeah.
This,
I don't know if we want to put that in that line or not.
yes?
I don't think so.
Well, we had an amendment, a seconder. Who was the seconder?
We're trying to keep seniors.
No, the seconder.
I made the original motion with John seconding it, and
Yes, I know.
And I seconded the friendly
Who
amendment.
seconded your motion?
I did.
Councillor Simon.
Yes.
Thanks. The seconder, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Motion as amended. Any speaker? None? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I think we're going to move on.
Next is the Paris Museum and Historical Society requesting $15,000.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councillor Weed. Would there be a seconder in the House? Councillor Simons. Discussion on the motion. Any speakers? None? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. What's next?
Paris Plains Cemetery Committee requesting $5,000, same as last year.
Anyone?
So moved.
You're moving a grant of 5. Seconder? Is there a seconder here? Councillor Miller seconds. Thank you. Discussion. Any speakers? If not, all in favor? Opposed?
Okay, motion's carried.
Carried. Thank you.
Next request is from the Paris Port Dover Pipe Band requesting $10,000.
Discussion? Motion?
I have lots of money.
Councillor Carter.
I'd like to move 2,500.
Is there a seconder for Councillor Pierce? Seconds. 2,500. Discussion on the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Carty.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, that the band itself has gone all over the world and represented the county in many applications in Scotland, Ireland, England, in the World Tattoo that was there 2 years ago, and have done a fine job. And I know we gave them pins and everything to take over, and they distributed them all over the place over there. They're a great asset to the community. They do promote the county of Brant heavily when they are out there traveling abroad, and have done a great job.
Any other speakers? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
My dad, they also were the backup band for Paul Marcus that were at their Kansas Center last time.
Yes. Thank you. Next.
Paris Santa Claus Parade Committee requesting 1,500, same as last year.
Moved by Councillor Wheat, seconded by Councillor Pierce. Discussion? Any speakers? None? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next number.
Next request is from the Scouts Canada Camp in Pisa, requesting 8,800.
Motion to deny. Moved and seconded. Councillor Simons.
Mr. Mayor, if I may speak to this, this camp I have attended many times.
Yes.
But this camp is also located in Oxford County. So I'm just wondering if they're coming to the wrong county.
The question is?
I'm wondering if they're coming to the wrong county because the camp is located in Oxford County.
No, they include Brant. The Brant organizations are included. I've been invited there every year for a function. Councillor Carty.
Thank you, Your Worship. As a past leader of one of the first Paris Scouts in Paris here, that camp is owned by Scouts Canada, and the maintenance and upkeep of that facility is huge. I know I've been there myself many a times with Scouts and Cubs and Beavers, and it's an amazing facility. It's one of a few of that size in Ontario, and there's many thousands of kids from our local communities here, boys that have gone through that facility. So I would be in favor of an amount of some kind, but we need to do something.
Thank you. Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could here, I'm totally opposed to the motion that's on the table right now. We've supported the Girl Guides for a trip of a lifetime and to, trip across.
Yes.
I'm not sure how we can close the books on the Scouts. They may not be going to the other side of the world, but this is, maybe this is something that some of them can only afford. Who knows? But I can't understand how we can turn down one and give to another, same type of deal.
Somebody put a figure on there. Put a figure on there.
Councillor Palmer.
If I may, we were quite specific last year that we needed some sort of budget for it, and there's absolutely nothing from the Scouts that says what their income, cash flows, anything they can request. And that makes it real simple for me. We laid out an article last year, you have to give some sort of financial information. All they have is stuff they want to buy.
Yes.
That doesn't apply here. We know that, so we can't approve it. Simple as that.
Councillor Simons. You had your hand up. Councillor Miller.
I'm putting in a new front door and it's $7,500, so I think $8,800 is a reasonable request. To deny these guys is just, I mean, it's just showing plain ignorance of what these guys do. as has already been said, there's thousands and thousands of young people that go there. And it's not just scouts. It's there's a lot of cadets that also use that on a regular basis. The value of this is, I don't know, it's huge. It's just a tremendous contribution to our community. And they don't have a choice. They got to put that door in there. So, and of course, you know yourself, they have to be accessible down the road. So I will support an amount. I won't support the motion on the floor right now.
Councillor Balmer.
If I may, Your Worship, that's why I spoke so ardently against putting requirements for financials into our grant request, because we'll run into something that we want to support and we can't because we don't have the proper financials. Now we have that, and we're stuck with the policy that we put in place last year. So if we approve this, we're in direct contravention to a rule that we put in last year. That's ridiculous. It's a good thing. We should support it. We passed it down the road. So now we have to deal with the consequences. We cannot approve this request.
Thank you. Councillor Cardy.
I'll keep my voice lowered, sir.
Oh, thank you.
I thank the honourable member from St. George West, but my concern is I understand what he's saying, and I agree with Will 100%. But knowing this, I guess you could call it a system for scouting in Canada, there are boys who can't go to world trips and jamborees. They very rarely can get out, and this is one of the things that they can go to because local scouts from all around the area help those boys get to Camp in Pessa if they can't financially support it. And I agree with the councillor what he's saying 100%. I know it puts us in a bind in doing this. I just find myself in between a rock and a hard spot on this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor.
I'm going to support the fair. I know we're going against the rules. I'm a councillor, St. George West councillor, I'm councillor St. George South. Just a few parts down now. But
Well, how about the...
right now,
Yes.
brother-in-law Rick helped build that place. And right now he's looking at me and saying, what in the hell are you doing, John?
Ah, beautiful.
And he's got his sister there, Lois.
Yeah.
And Rick helped build it. So I've got to give him something. I've been there. Former Councillor Roy Haggard.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Deeply involved with Scouts here in Paris. And I just hope Roy's feeling better. I heard that he had some surgery and had some success.
Correct.
So
Correct.
I want somebody to put a number on the floor.
Yes.
And I don't care what the number is.
Yes.
Support it.
Thank you. Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could direct Councillor Boma's attention to 11-97, which we talked about the Horticultural Club in Glen Morris and how great the flowers look and all that kind of stuff. There is nothing there for a financial statement, and you approve that.
Yes.
So you're contradicting yourself, Councillor, by saying that we can't do that. And sorry for raising my voice, Mr. Mayor.
No, my part is thank you for your input. Sorry, I'll be back to you someday. Councillor, where was Councillor? Oh, Councillor Coleman.
There is a motion on the floor, right?
Yes. No.
Then we need to vote on that motion, and if you don't like it, defeat it, and then the new motion will come forward.
That's usual.
Or either that, something withdrawn there.
That is the usual, normal way of handling our business. Councillor Gatward, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a former Beaver leader, I was at Camp Impessa as well. As a former Beaver leader, my name was Bubbles. I was at Camp Impessa, and the camp is very worthwhile, and I would draw everyone's attention to the application from the Scouts that says on page 11-206, Scouts Canada start the camps out each year with $0. So they have no money. But from their rentals, they pay their utilities and maintenance and improvements to the property. They do get a portion of Apple Day proceeds.
Good.
And they also have a silent auction held at their Scouting Honors and Awards banquet. So basically, they have no money because I don't know what the utilities and maintenance are for this camp. They've never come and asked for money previously.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. There is a
Yes,
figure on the floor.
Thank you very much.
That's not even being discussed
The
right
rules
now.
of
Call the vote, and then I might, a new motion.
Call the question?
We have a
What is
We
the
have a
motion?
motion on the table.
We have
What
a
is the
motion.
motion?
Deny,
And
yeah.
anyone may speak to the motion. Were you speaking to the motion?
Yes, yes, I was.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask a question I don't think that's ever been asked before. Is it possible for the people involved in this to speak to this item? Is it or is it not?
No.
Pardon?
It's not allowed to be,
No.
well, everyone is saying no, but I'd like you to say no.
No.
Well, we're in committee of the whole.
I
The
understand.
rules of committee of the whole are much easier
I
than the rules of council.
absolutely, that's why I'm asking.
If you wish for somebody to speak, test it on your council.
Well, okay, I would like
You have to use a procedure to do it.
I would like to
I
know
have
if
no
this
problem. As
council,
you know, I'm as open as,
I would like to know if this council would allow Mr. Waters
you'll
to speak
have
to
to.
this motion, or to speak to this item.
you have heard Councillor Simon's request to have a representative speak to council. I'll ask for a motion to allow that.
Verity,
Is there a motion?
just one small little thing.
Yes.
We do have a motion on the table, so
Yes.
maybe we need
But I
to
thought we
defer that
should-
or something to hear,
What?
we can
No.
defer it to hear a presentation or
No,
whatever, but we
no,
need to,
No,
we need to deal with it.
No, we're not going to put it until we've heard from a delegation regarding it. They are not members of council, but they're live, and they're speaking to the motion. I wouldn't want to put the motion and then say, you can speak, because they're here to speak about the motion.
I'm just asking.
Councillor Pierce.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, if I could. I don't really feel it's necessary for them to speak. I think everybody around this table understands the importance of what is there.
Okay.
There's been several people around this table that have been there. I haven't had the pleasure myself, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't think there's any, and no disrespect meant, I don't think there's anything they can add. There's a motion on the table, let's go there.
Councillor Carty.
And with all due respect to the Scouts Canada, if we do this, you could have a hot lineup of 500 people here wanting to speak to every dollar that's been put on this sheet.
No, I'm not going that route. That is not so, because one speaks, it doesn't mean that everybody would want to speak. But maybe they would, and that's democratic. We are a democratic council. We can hear people and hear their opinion. Councillor Simons has asked permission for a member to speak. It's thought that that really isn't necessary, and I agree. The importance of this operation is known by most members of council who have been in the service one way or another and know about it. I have been there several times, invited. It is a wonderful camp. It's very important. So I will agree with a grant. Now, can you withdraw your request?
I can withdraw it, but I haven't found out if everyone is against it.
You will withdraw your request? Because if otherwise, I'll have to put it to the members of council.
I'll withdraw, Mr. Mayor. Let's
Thank
move
you
on.
very much, because there is support, strong support here.
Let's move on.
Okay. In view of that, what is the motion, Madam Clerk?
That the grant request for $8,800 be denied.
Be denied.
Yes.
Realizing if this defeated, it is open to another resolution. So, all in favor? Opposed? The floor is open. Who wishes to rush in? Councillor Coleman.
Give them the same, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll give them the same as the Girl Guides, 3,000.
How much?
3,000, same as the Girl
3,000.
Guides.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Pierce? I'm coming around. Okay, discussion. Who wishes to speak to that motion? Anyone? If not, we'll have a vote. I'm going to rush it to a vote. I'm going to rush it. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you for forbearance. Thank you for your forbearance.
I do think we need a motion now.
Yes.
That a requirement for financials from our people asking for grants. I need a motion of reconsideration for that direction because we have ignored it at least twice
Yes.
already this evening.
Choice. Thank you.
So either we make it a requirement or we remove it as a requirement. I'm in favor of removing it as a requirement exactly because of instances like this. We suggest financials, but if we require financials and then we approve a grant, we're being schizophrenic. So I have a motion of reconsideration for the requirement from last budget granting evening that I would like to bring forward.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. This isn't on the agenda, and this is a major motion that we had big discussion on. So I think we should finish the list first, and if we wish to have the motion brought forward tonight, then we have a few minutes to think about it because there was no notice of motion.
Well, this is how we passed it last year. Excuse me.
Councillor Pierce.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to say that I think a lot of this motion that we're debating here right now, and I know we're kind of off topic from this, was my doing. Was my doing because I'm in firm belief that they should be having financials in there. But as Councillor Bowman has pointed out, there's twice tonight that we have gone around our own motion per se. So
Yes.
if this isn't the time, then whenever the appropriate time is, I'd be happy to second that motion and see if we can have a reconsideration of it.
I would be pleased to bring it forward at the end of this
But I
session.
still would like people to have them in there.
Is he laughing at me?
Fair enough.
Thank you. Next.
South Dumfries Historical Society request for $5,000.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Moved and by Councillor Wheat, second by Councillor Simons. Speakers have a motion on the floor, $5,000. Anyone? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. What's next?
Next request,
What was the 5,000? Oh, thank you.
Next request is from the South Dumfries Nonprofit Housing Russell Heights Seniors Building, $37,500 to replace the 35-year-old elevator.
Presented that. Councillor Carty.
I'll move it to get it on the floor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Powell, seconds. Councillor Carty speaks.
First question, I guess, is the building owned by the county, city, or is it privately owned? And if it is owned by the county and city, is there not a budget item for items like this through county and city negotiations? That's my question.
Councillor Simons, Chair of...
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This, at present, is ownership of the county and Brantford, the city. If I could give a wee bit of history of what's going to be happening, their mortgage will be coming due next year, or 2019, sorry. And they're planning on doing another building. They're going to use the collateral from the present building to put into the new building. So there'll be a separate identity altogether. but at the present moment, they're still under the ownership of Brantford and the county.
No.
Am I incorrect in saying that?
Yeah, the city and county do not own Russell Heights. It's their own entity.
So
the board itself owns the building.
If I may ask, does the county or Brantford support them in any financial areas at all?
They have some funding through the city and the county, but in a different way than like what Trillium Way. It's a different structure.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, I'm misleading. Because that was what I was understood. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I looked into this earlier today with the housing staff, and the nonprofit corporation owns the building, and they manage the building, and they do want to replace their elevator. My question would be to the two members of council that sit on that board, do they have any capital reserves for this project?
Thank you for the question.
No, we don't, because it's non-profit.
Right.
It's a non-profit situation. You cannot have capital reserve in non-profit. So they have approached social services in Brantford, and we're going to get some money from social services.
Good.
Just like the thing up here.
Thank you.
They asked for $37,500. Basically told Sam Sheridan, you won't get it. But put in for a large amount, hopefully we'll get a portion of it.
Yeah.
Just like the Curling Club got a portion of their 25,000 request, they got 5. I'm a little bit reluctant because both Will and I sit on that board. The elevator there, and Ron was around when that building was built.
Yes, sir.
I believe it built.
Ron is old enough to have been there. He was the Reeve at the time.
Brave or South Delray didn't have this problem.
The elevator is...
Mr. Mayor, if I may, Mr. Mayor, sorry to interrupt the point of order. We don't even have a motion on the table. I'm not sure how we're talking to this.
He's speaking
Yes, we
to
do.
the motion.
I was reluctant to put the figure. I'm hoping someone else would, because Will and I sit on the
Do we
board.
have a-
I'll make the motion at 37.5, which is
We have
I have a motion for 37.5.
Yes,
We have
we
a
do.
motion.
But Mr. Mayor, if I may finish,
Oh, excuse me.
what I was told by the housing staff was that in April of 2018, there will be some funding available that they may be able to snag for this project. I think it was as high as $50,000. The figure of $50,000 was mentioned.
Oh, I see.
And when I look at what we have remaining in our fund up there, we don't even have $37,000. We've got $16,946 left before we go over our 148. So maybe we should defer this request and get more information.
I'm sorry, I cannot do that. I have a motion unless you move that it be deferred and we get a seconder and debate it. We cannot do it. I cannot do that. Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So now that I understand that we do have the motion on the table and second.
Yes, sir.
I would like to speak to the financials that are in here because
Yes,
unless
sir.
I'm reading this wrong, this is stated as a nonprofit housing corporation and yet they've got $500,000 in the bank. Not quite sure how that works.
We have a treasurer here. She will explain.
Unless I'm reading this
how
thing
that
completely
could
wrong.
work.
That's
11,227.
yes, but a large part of that is actually the building, the asset of the building. In actual cash balance, they don't have quite that much. They do have on the 11-228, they do have a replacement reserve, but it's to cover all replacements to maintain the building.
So Mr. Mayor, when I asked about a reserve,
Yes.
yeah, there's it says $295,667, and if they're replacing part of the elevator or all of the elevator, why can't they use those funds?
They probably could, but it would deplete them quite a bit to do the whole project itself. Like the whole project itself is 150,000.
Any other speakers? Councillor Miller.
Mr. Mayor, I question that this request is even in the community grants. I mean, a request of this amount, it could wipe us out. We get a couple more. Maybe we get a request next year for a bridge or something to replace a bridge. I don't know where it belongs, but I don't believe it belongs here. And I support Councillor Gatward that we find out where it goes. Because I don't think this is the way. I don't think this is where we deal with it.
That's a good point. Would you comment on that, please? The fact that it's a grant in that it's an outside institution from the council.
Correct.
So it is, in fact, a grant, even though it doesn't look appropriately in this list. It is a grant to an outside organization.
Correct. They are requesting a grant.
Thank you. I agree with you. Councillor Gabbard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In that case, then, I'm going to move that this grant requests be deferred until we have more information as to funding sources for this project, whether it be reserves, whether it be money from the City Housing Department and through their grant applications. But I think that I agree, it doesn't belong on this list. I was quite surprised when I saw it. We have a housing department.
Where would you suggest that it be included?
I would suggest that it be included with the housing department's budget for a grant.
We don't have a housing.
Well, we have a joint city-county.
That's what you're talking about, and you would bring it up there at that?
They already.
Would you see that it's?
Well, the staff already know about it.
There. Pardon?
Yeah, the staff know about it, and they are willing to work with them on getting money for this elevator.
Well, the problem is we have a motion, I believe, on this matter. So if the mover and the seconder prepared to withdraw that motion, that we agree and have a motion that this be transferred to the housing, the joint city-county housing. Pardon? It's been there?
Services already.
Oh, thank you.
They're already going
That's
to put
additional.
some money towards it.
Oh, good.
They're not putting, they won't be getting $150,000. There's a motion on the floor. If that gets defeated, I have a subsequent motion. Get this moved along. Current motion.
Pardon?
Current motion that I put on the floor was the full amount to get.
Yeah, we have a mover and seconder for the motion. Okay. Mover and seconder. Any other speakers to the motion? None? All in favor? Opposed? Did you do some?
Motion's defeated.
Motion is defeated. Is there a succeeding motion?
I'll make a subsequent motion that we grant $15,000.
$15,000. Seconder, please.
A little less than that.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Powell, seconds. Discussion? Anyone? All in favor? Oh, do you want us to speak?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like this deferred.
Deferred.
Because I would like to find out exactly how much it costs, how much they're getting from social services, if any, what the other sources are funding. This is. I'll leave the descriptor alone. I don't want to deal with this.
So
tonight.
you don't want an amount put in there?
No.
That might
no.
be removed?
And it's, I think they need a safe elevator. I don't doubt it for a second. I just don't know how much they need from us. I don't know how much the project costs, and I don't know how much they're getting from the other groups, and I'd like to see that. And I'd also like to see what other funding pots are out there rather than the community grants. But we'll just keep taking motions for different amounts, I guess.
Mr. Mayor, I made a motion to defer earlier, which wasn't dealt with.
Well, was there a seconder for it?
I'm
If
sure there
was
is.
No, just a moment,
I'm
please.
sure there
Let's
is
quit.
if you ask for one.
Pardon?
I'm sure there is if you ask for one.
No, I'm not asking for one now. You're not presenting it now. You presented it before, and unless there was a seconder, there was no motion.
And am I
Councillor
correct that
Galbert,
a motion of
you're
deferral,
making it
there's no
difficult.
discussion on a motion to defer?
Pardon?
Am I not correct that there's no discussion on a
already a motion on the
motion
floor.
to defer? That doesn't matter.
That's
If-
why it wasn't dealt with.
It's in the procedural bylaw that
What-
one of...
But what is the point? There was no seconder, so it's not a motion.
Well, I'm making it now.
No, there's a motion before.
It doesn't matter.
Is there a motion?
I would ask the clerk to rule on that. Can
The clerk
a
doesn't
deferral
rule.
motion be made at any time during discussion?
A motion to defer, the resolution on the table is in order if we want to.
So,
We don't have that. Do we have a motion?
We have a motion on the table right now. A motion to defer that resolution could be considered.
Is in order.
Yes.
And so I'm making a motion
Thank
to
you.
defer, Mr. Mayor, seeking a seconder.
Councillor Simon
second it.
seconds.
Yes.
Are we allowed to vote on that? Yes, we are. So we'll vote on it. All in favor of the motion to defer? Opposed?
I have a question to defer.
Motion.
To what?
Somebody voted twice.
To the next budget meeting?
Wasn't stated.
Council meeting, to defer to when?
Good point. Do you wish to comment on that, Councillor?
Well, I believe that Councillor Miller stated a minute ago that we need more information.
That, you're not answering the question that has been asked by Councillor Weed.
If we get the information by next week, our next budget meeting, then it can be presented then.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Do I need to get for you?
No, you don't need to do it at
You
all.
want more information? I'm gonna
It's
try and
deferred and we shall move on. Next
Well,
item.
I think we need
know
to,
what you want to know, so I can get it. Did it fail?
well, I think we need to vote because I don't know if it was understood. So the idea is defer to the next meeting because I believe we had a tie vote and I wanted to confirm that, so.
So it's defeated.
Yeah,
Oh, we did, yes. I'm pretty sure we did.
It's defeated.
We can have a tie vote because we have one
Yes.
member missing.
So
It's defeated.
Might have two shortly.
now we're back to the
Councillor Gatworth, your motion has been defeated.
Tie vote.
Pardon?
Oh.
Yeah. Councillor Mel.
Well, the questions were asked, what do we want to find out? I will tell you. How
Yeah.
much does it cost to put in the elevator?
150.
Point of order, that motion failed, so now we're dealing with the $15,000.
Yes, sir.
That's the motion on the floor. Call the vote unless there's more discussion.
Is there?
my hand up.
Yes, that's right. Exactly right. Councillor
I have my
Coleman.
hand up, Mr. Mayor, when Council Gatwood was making that motion, so I want to speak. This is an unusual request, in my opinion, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Because it's not
Well,
like,
we
it's not like Girl Guides, Scouts, or our church, or cemetery, or whatever.
Correct.
This is a different kind of request, and I think that this organization should maybe make an application, a delegation to come to council.
That is exactly the way this
And
sees.
speak to this, because I don't, even if we approve $15,000, we're back pretty well to zero, and there's a few more here that I'd like to see get a kick of the can, so without increasing our budget numbers in the grant. So it's just an unusual request.
The CAO sees it exactly the way you do.
It's not a good
We do
Let
see
them
things
come
like,
forward.
even if he is a liberal, so.
Please, I want that remark struck from the record.
Oh, no.
It has to be struck from the record.
You can't defer.
Defeat this.
No.
And then if I may, your worship, I would suggest then
Counselor.
that perhaps we defeat the motion, that Councillor Coleman makes a motion, and then we approve that so that we can deal with it appropriately, because I agree, this is an odd place for this.
So the motion before us to vote on.
The motion before us is for a grant for $15,000.
200,000 in reserves.
We defeat that.
Everyone ready to vote?
Is this on 15?
All in favor of granting 15,000? Opposed? Count?
Motion's defeated?
Motion defeated.
Okay.
Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make a motion that this organization come and make a presentation in front of council, the delegation, and get it on the floor
Bring the
that way.
financials.
Seconder, please.
Bring the financials.
Councillor Bauma. Discussion. Speakers. Councillor Pierce.
I will absolutely vote in favor of this, but can I add to it that they come with the information as to Councillor Miller spoke to? Because I agree. Is there other money coming in? What other money's coming in, and that sort of information? I totally agree that they should have that.
Exactly, the whole
Thank
picture.
you.
Could be.
Good point. We'll record that.
Ready?
Yes.
We just clarify, were we looking for them to come to the next budget meeting or to the next council meeting?
Council meeting.
Council?
Are we agreed on that? Please,
They want the
let's
budget
have
passed by the council
unanimity on occasion.
Or refer to budget or whatever.
Can I
Budget
speak to that?
Yes, you certainly may, Mr.
Oh, thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm just looking at the budget schedule here. We have another meeting scheduled for the 13th, but that's a special council meeting dealing with budget. And then when our council meeting, regular scheduled council meeting is the 19th. It's up to you, of course, but they could come as a delegation to council at the 13th, at the beginning of the meeting.
Good suggestion.
And you would have that information for your consideration.
Yes.
That's when they should come.
Whatever. Leave it up to them. They need to come and make a, that's what I want. Make a presentation. We can deal with this at any time.
So staff can decide that and get them here. Yep, okay. I mean, yes. Councillor Wheat.
Are we doing it anyways? Budget meeting.
I think we should, but I think they can have their own if we're doing it.
And then we'd have the information.
I think it belongs at the budget.
Good question. How heavy is CDC?
I have several delegations already for some.
Oh, well, that
Forward to
just,
another meeting.
no, that's all right. It just makes for a longer night. It'll fill out our night.
Yeah.
Go through me.
I'll move that they come to budget meeting.
13, I'll second that.
You said that? Did you say that?
I moved it, yes.
Second. All in favor? You have the date. Thank you. Next. Do you have the mover and seconder?
I do have a mover and seconder.
And you have the amount?
Yes, $500.
Just say all those in favor. That's all.
Okay.
In favor? Opposed? Carried. Next.
Victim Services of Brant for $5,000.
Members Council? Councilor Carley?
I'll second it.
Moved and second. Discussion? Speakers? Any speakers? None? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next number.
St. George Minor Ball, $3,000.
Councilor Gatward.
Do we have other pitching machines in the county? This is for a pitching machine.
Who's the question to?
You, Mr. Mayor, you sit on Community Services. Do you know?
Do I know what?
If we have other pitching machines in the county?
I don't
This
know
is
that.
for
Denmark, it was transferred into the city.
baseball
It's in the
pitching
city.
machine.
That's right. Yes, you're right.
You have one?
It's in the city. Anyone else? Please.
I got one in my share.
We have a suggestion on this from someone. Motion would be even better. Councillor Pierce.
I'm just wondering, sorry, Mr. Mayor,
It's
thank you.
all right, I'll hear you.
I'm wondering if I can get clarification on something. I know
Yes.
when my son played ball in town here, there was a pitching machine, but it was my understanding that that was purchased by Paris Youth Softball. Can I please, are you able to help me out with that, Kathy? That is correct? Thank you. So, again, I think it's a great idea, but Paris Youth Softball purchased their own, and if they really, if they really want to do it, maybe talk to Willie Morley. He's got a couple in his trucks that they might be able to use.
Thank you. We need a motion, however, to dispose of this item.
Move to deny.
Moved by Councillor Coleman, second by Councillor Simons. Discussion? Speakers? Anyone wish to speak? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next.
Salt Springs Church Heritage Society for $500.
So moved.
Moved, seconded. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next.
Friends of 4-H, Friends of Brant 4-H, sorry, for $1,000.
Councillor Pierce.
I think it's, we all know what 4-H is all about, but I would support 400 as we did last year.
Same as last year. Thank you. Councillor Cardy. Are you speaking?
Second.
You moved it?
400.
Oh, that's right. Second.
400, same as last year.
Councillor Coleman. Thank you.
I will not support that figure. I think that we've increased in some others and whatnot, and it's a little bit like there again, like Girl Guides and Scouts and whatnot like that. So I think it's a little more. It's a volunteer, and it needs to be. I'm not sure I support 1,000, but I will put another figure in there.
Thank you.
This is
any speakers? Anyone else wish to speak? If not, all in favor? Opposed?
Motion's defeated.
Thank you. Motion?
750, Mr. Mayor.
750 is the figure now. Is there a seconder for the? Thank you. Second. Moved and second. Speakers? No speakers? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next number.
The next request is from Brant Historical Society for $10,000.
Councillor Gatward.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would,
I move to deny.
you weren't recognized. I was.
Pardon?
He wasn't recognized by the chair. I was.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Yes, Councillor Gatward, I'm with you. You're right. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I realize that the St. George, South Dumfries area and the Paris area and the Burford area all have museums that they take pride in. However, I take pride in this one because it holds the early history of all the county. It holds the history of the former townships of Onondaga, Oakland.
Pardon? Yes, are you?
I will as soon as I'm finished, Councillor.
No, but if you could make the motion, then you could support the motion with your detail.
All right, I'll move that we authorize the $10,000 for the Brant County Museum. We gave the other 3 museums exactly what they asked for, and I think this one is very important. They've just revamped, and they deserve the $10,000 as much as the other museums. And the Paris Museum.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Discussion.
Thank you. May I speak to it now then, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, you do. You can always speak to your motion. It's your
Thank
motion.
you. This museum holds the history from Onondaga Township, from Oakland Township, and from the Township of Brantford. It also holds the very early history that might not be in the Paris Museum or the St. George Museum or the Burford Museum.
Yes.
A lot of old historical artifacts in the Brant County Museum. And I know that we have strayed away from that because some councillors thought that this was a city museum, but it really isn't. They have a good display, the mayor told me, on the county of Brant there.
Yes.
And when we had
I've seen it.
an anniversary, they had a whole spread on the county with a lot of interesting artifacts. So they are, even though we haven't supported them last year, after they've reorganized, they are requesting assistance. We used to give them a lot more than that,
Yes,
but
we
now I
supported them.
think they're fundraising more. But I think that they deserve this $10,000, and they are helping to preserve our history, and I would urge members of council to visit this museum on Charlotte Street.
Thank you. Other speakers? Well, I have to speak briefly on this one. It was the only museum in Brant up until about the 1950s when Paris got active, and I'm so pleased they did because they're doing a tremendous job, and as the other two are. But all of the early artifacts are located, and I was astounded at what I saw because they've revamped it. It is better. They've done a lot of work. They need some, and we had always given them a grant. I'm not saying the amount should be that much. I think we need to recognize them in some way, and we're making inroads because I asked about the land titles, and those are going to become available to the Paris Museum, I'm told, later this year. So we're making some advance, but they do need help. They do contain our early history. I would ask that you consider them in some way. Thank you. What was the motion? Was the 10? Is that and seconded? All in favor of that grant, $10,000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You get a count? Yep. Opposed? Motion defeated. Is there a motion replacing that one? Councillor Coleman.
I'll move $5,000.
5,000. Thank you. Seconder for that, Councillor Miller. Thank you. Wish to speak? Any speaker? Councillor.
Is the war, do you have the artifacts from the War of 1812 there? Because in a few years we'll want to bring it back up again. Do they have that in there?
I believe that most of the artifacts in the War of 1812 are at the Artillery Museum. Well, I know what you're talking about because I've handled one. Anyway, any other speakers? Councillor Gatward.
Well,
speaking to you.
It's off topic, but just so Councillor Wheat knows, there's many 1812 artifacts at the museum in the city on Greenwich Street that we supported
Artillery Museum.
earlier tonight.
Military Museum.
Yes.
Military. Yes. Correct information. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Carried. Oh, sorry, am I?
May point out that Councillor Gatward, there's also stuff of 1812 in the St. George Library.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes. Yes. Did you wish to speak?
I just wanted to, we did the 5,000, right? It passed?
Yes. Next number.
The final number is the remaining balance, or what you want to put in the budget to allocate out through the year. Last year, there was $5,112 left to be allocated. Of that, $1,500 went to the Burford area for their Canada Day celebration. Likewise, $1,500 went to St. George for their Canada Day. The big brothers and big sisters got $1,000. So all of the remaining balance of unallocated for 2017 is $112. So
what do we do with the 112?
it's just sitting there. You could.
We need to do something.
You could allocate it, or it could go to surplus. Okay, so it's open to whether you want to leave the remaining balance,
Councillor Miller.
Yeah, I'll move that we leave that remaining amount in the grants part of the budget, because we always have a request.
Councillor Simons, discussion, speakers, anyone? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. That's the end of my list, but we were going to do another matter at the end of the grants, and that was something to do with requesting financial statements with applications. Do you have a flavor for that? Anyone? Councillor Baum.
If I could ask the clerk, please, your worship, through you, the most appropriate way to change our financial statements requirement last year, would that need a notice motion for reconsideration, or could we just make a change now to the wording, make a motion to change the wording that we strongly suggest that we get financial statements with our grant request?
We could do a motion to amend our policy.
Perfect. So moved.
Wait a sec, let me get it with you guys.
And the motion
The motion to amend would say
Thank you.
in our grants application process that we strongly recommend to be considered that the organization provides financial statements to us. That way we still have the door open to deal with people.
Beautiful. That is clairvoyant. Councillor Carty, please.
I just want to say, your worship, I support the member from St. George West.
St. George West. I like that terminology, except you're leaving the township out like everybody else. You leave the names of the townships out. You can't do that. That completes the list of grants. What is next? What is next?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that the consensus is that we'll finish up for today, and we'll look at the unmet needs next Wednesday.
Have we passed the motion about the change?
Could we vote yes?
No. I'm conferring with my clerk, your clerk.
Right.
Thank you.
I think we still need to vote on the motion to
Yes,
amend,
we do.
unless I missed it.
Everyone clear on it? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. That's the change in policy about the information. Councillor.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize, I missed the first couple minutes, but if you haven't read your copy of Municipal World 2 issues ago, there's one on lame duck councils. And if we lose 3 members or more from this council to the next, that's under 75%, we're lame duck. Now, a lame duck council cannot approve $50,000 or more in spending.
Correct.
Unless it's been pre-approved at budget time. So I think that's something we should kind of keep in the back of our mind during this budget session, so. That's right.
Yeah,
but if we had a motion similar to approving, say, borrowing $700,000 for those radios, we couldn't have done it in that situation.
And this is a determination by a member that they will not be running in the next election.
Yeah, that's correct.
Your worship, could I comment on this? I read the same article, and I have it noted to address it with senior management, and we can maybe bring a report back to the council in the new year, just sort of outlining the steps so that you can give that consideration as the year evolves, because it is quite a critical thing. Exactly.
No, slow us down a bit. Slow us down.
Okay.
Your worship, next? Yes.
I have one other point I wanted to make, and it's budget related, whatever the heck it is. If you recall, when the GRCA was making their presentation, there was on the back of their presentation, they always list all the assessments from all the different municipalities, the cumulative assessment and all that. It was very interesting that the assessment for Brant County is 48% of the total assessment for the city of Brantford. So think about that in terms of the population, and yet our assessment is up here relative to theirs. So if you get an opportunity, I'd circle back and have a look at those things. It's somewhat revealing.
Mr. CAO, now that you brought that up, there was a matter during the budget deliberations that we discovered that our assessment is incorrect. What budget was that in? We brought it to the attention. They're using the previous county assessment, which is incorrect, and it's got to be corrected, and it's got to be corrected now. So I would ask, who is pursuing that? I made a point of it. It must be pursued. And I want every other area where we have cost sharing to make sure that our assessment, reduced assessment, is recognized in those figures. Otherwise, we're going to be paying a lot of money, and this happened, believe it or not, once before, that some people, indigenous people, were carried over in our welfare rolls. Do you remember that, Councillor Coleman? They were, a large number were carried over, and believe it or not, they were domiciled in another municipality next door. And that was serious. And the trouble is that once you move on, you can't recollect those. So was it in the, do you remember, Michael Bradley, Mr. Bradley, how that was that the only one that came up? It's got to be pursued.
Mr. Chair, it was through the Grand River Conservation Authority's budget. The reason is most of the cost-sharing agreements we have are based on the MPAC assessment figures. Their budget through the Conservation Authorities Act is based on M&R's assessment figures.
But M&R then has to be corrected.
We have approached them and will continue to do so. Yeah.
You will deal with them? We must deal with them.
Yeah.
And soon. And that was the only one? I thought there were two places.
That's the only correction that hasn't happened regarding the boundary transition that we're aware of.
Yeah.
I believe.
Well, I don't know why MNR is allowed to escape it. Their provincial ministry should have been the first to recognize it, not the last.
Yes.
Yes.
The only other question Councillor Miller asked when social services was here, whether there's any changes related to the boundaries that caused the decrease, and there wasn't. There was none. It was taken into consideration in 2017. There was nothing in 2018.
Talking the letter?
So what
I
is,
did, yeah.
What is next?
To rise as council, rise back into council.
Well, is there anything else we can do? Next steps, other business. Resume in council. Moved by Councillor Coleman, second by Councillor Cardy. All in favor? We are in council. The next item is to review. No, that's next steps, other business. Where are we headed now on budget? Pardon? And what will we be dealing with there?
Yeah.
Thank you. If not, nothing else from council? Well, it's so early though, surely we could do some more work. It's been
To me, it's not.